Hey, this is Lisa from coochiecoochiecoo.com. Do you know that we humans spend anywhere from 1/3 to half of our lives sleeping? So it's really important to have a good pillow and a good pillowcase to put our heads on. So today I'm going to show you how to turn 2 meters of 1 meter wide fabric into 2 standard size pillowcases. These are really easy. They have a little decorative flap here, and they have a simple envelope opening here. So they're great even for a beginner sewer. Let's get going. To make 2 pillowcases, you're going to need 2 meters of fabric that is 1 meter across. Now it's really important if you're using a fabric with a print that is a non-directional print. What does this mean? So see these apples, see how they're going in all different directions? So it doesn't really make a difference if we're looking at it like this or like this. It's all the same thing. To give you an idea of what a directional fabric is, this strawberry print, you can see the strawberries are all going in one direction and they're going downwards. This is not going to work because the way we're cutting the fabric to make the most of it, that we're actually going to use the fabric sideways like this, which means our strawberries would end up sideways on the pillowcase. If you don't mind, you know, that's great, but you probably want your strawberries to be straight on the pillowcase. So make sure that your fabric is a non-directional, meaning it can go in any direction. Let's work out our measurements. Now let's imagine that we're using a standard pillow form, so about 75 centimeters by 45. We're going to add a little extra bit of fabric that flaps out like this. I personally like it so that it is about 4.5 centimeters on each side. So here we have an additional 4.5 centimeters. Okay, now we're also going to need to have a part that folds over on the inside. So let's imagine this is on the inside, and let's have it fold over by 17 centimeters. Okay, so again, let's go over our dimensions. We have 45 centimeters here, 75 here, which is going to be front and back, obviously, 4.5, 4.5, and then fold over 17. We're using a whole long piece of fabric. Let's imagine it's cut here. So basically what we're going to do, there'll be a little extra, but basically what we're going to do is cut it down here. We're going to take this long strip and we're going to fold it a couple of times and then sew it down so that it has this shape. Okay, so let's make our calculations of how large our fabric needs to be, both the width and the length. So 75 centimeters, we need front and back. So that's 75 plus 75. This is centimeters, of course. If you're doing inches, do inches. Then we're going to do these overlap parts. So this is 4.5 centimeters, but this is folded over here, so it's both front and back. So we'll say that's 9 centimeters. It's 9 centimeters. Over here, there's another side, 9 centimeters. So we've got another 18 centimeters. We have 17 centimeters of an overlap here that goes inside that we won't be able to see, but it's there to hold the pillow in place. So there's another 17 centimeters. And then we also need some seam allowance. So we're going to fold over each end by 1 centimeter 2 times. So that's 4 centimeters of seam allowance, okay? The 17 is for the overlap. That's what I'm calling this part here. The 18 is for these little, we'll say the flaps. That's what I'm saying these are, the flaps. And these 2 75s are the length of the pillow. So if we add up all of these numbers here, we come up with a grand total of 189 centimeters. This is the length that we are going to want. For the width instead, we just want to take the width of the pillow and add an extra centimeter on each side for seam allowance. So that will be 45 plus 1 and plus 1, that's 47 centimeters. So this is how long your strip is going to be. So when you cut your fabric, you're going to want to make sure that it is 189 centimeters. And then you're going to need to have enough so that you have 47 2 times. So you're going to have a 47 and again a 47. So in total, the width of the fabric will have to be at least 94 centimeters. And if it's a little bit extra, which it probably will be, because usually it's 1 meter, you're just gonna cut that off. There'll just be a little bit amount of waste. So if you want to do this type of pillowcase for another shape of pillow, say a throw pillow or some non-standard bed pillow size, all you need to do is adjust these. So these 75 here is what we had for the length of the pillow. And this here was basically the width here plus 2 for the seam allowance. So just adjust your calculations if you have a different size of pillow. It can be a little tricky to cut these large pieces of fabric just right and get them nice and straight, so I'm going to show you a little trick. Now, when you have woven fabric, you can cut into the edge like this, make a little cut, and then pull it, and it'll rip straight across. I've already done this here on this edge. Now make sure, first of all, that you have ironed your fabric nice and flat. So make your cut. I've already done this, so I'm not going to show you. Cut into it straight, or rather perpendicular to the selvage, and then take the 2 edges and pull, and it will rip right down. I'll show you in a moment how to do that. Now to measure your length, you're going to want 189 centimeters. So starting here with the 0, you're gonna measure all the way down. I suggest measuring up to 100 centimeters, which I have here. I've already measured this out. I've marked it with a pin. Mark it with a pin because it can get to be really long. Stretch it out again, and then again put the 0 here where the pin is. Measure all the way out till you get to 89. Again, I've already measured this too, and I've marked it with this second pin. Okay, I'll show you what I mean. So where I have this pin, I'm gonna mark, just put my thumb here, my thumbnail, take out the pin so it doesn't disturb me, and I'm going to cut right in here. Look how I'm going nice and straight. It's perpendicular to the selvage. Okay, I've made that first cut. See? Now, take one edge in the one hand and one in the other, and just pull. Okay, this might seem like a very non-scientific way, but actually this is the best way to cut your fabric. It will go perfectly straight across. When you get to the other selvage, it might be a little hard, so just pull it or snip it shut. And now we have exactly the length that we need. Now, do the same thing. You can measure from one side. So again, we want 47 centimeters. So take your tape measure, measure from the edge, 47 centimeters, make a little cut and pull it to go across. Then with the piece that remains, do the same thing. Measure 47 centimeters, make a little cut and pull. You'll probably have a little bit of extra fabric. You can use that for other scrap busting projects. So this long strip of fabric basically is going to be folded over a couple of times and sewn in a way that it's a pillowcase. Now before we start, we want to hem over the 2 short ends. So locate your short ends, and you're going to fold over twice by 1 centimeter. Obviously, you need to press them, measure them obviously, press them, and then stitch straight across. After you've hemmed both of the short sides, place the fabric right side up and measure from one short end down 79.5 centimeters. Mark it with a pin. You can see here, I've already added it. Do it this also on this other side. Then, after both sides are done, just take the fabric, fold it in half, right sides facing, hold the 2 pins with your hands like this. See, I have my fingers where the pins are. Kind of shake it around so it kind of flattens there on the fold. Then just adjust this fabric. Make the sides match up nicely here. Make sure everything is perfectly flat. As you go down, put some pins along both sides. Now do the same thing from the other short end, but this time we're going to measure 21.5 centimeters. I've marked it here and also here with a pin. Then take this end and fold it over like this. Notice that we're folding over this other part, which we've already folded over before from the other end. So make sure our pins are at the very edge here at the fold. Make sure that it's nice and flat, even underneath here. Notice this. You can put a pin here if you want to kind of hold it down, or just kind of flatten it as you go, making sure everything is perfectly flat. Make sure the pins are on the edges there, flatten it out. Once everything is perfectly flat, all the layers are the way they should be. They're lined up on the edges. You can put more pins in the sides if you want. You want to catch all the layers, so take out the ones in the bottom there and just put them in again so you've got all of the layers here. They're going to be 2 layers in some parts, but in other part 3. Add some more pins here and also here. Once you've got both of the long sides pinned together properly, everything's flattened out, bring it over to your ironing board, iron everything out nice and flat. Make sure these edges here, these folds, so they're perfectly flat. Then you're going to sew down each of the long ends with a 1 centimeter seam allowance, and also finish off the edges with either a zigzag stitch or an overlock stitch. So now that you've sewn down both of the sides, notice I've also finished off my edges with my overlocker. Now we're going to turn it right side out. So through this opening, first flip the flap right way out, put your finger into the corners there to poke them out properly. You want them all the way out. Then just reach your hand right through, pull out the rest of the pillowcase, kind of shake it out. Put your hand back inside, and again, use your index finger to just poke out those corners. You need them nice and sharp corners. Okay. And look at that. Now we've got our pillowcase. This is the back of it. You can see here it opens up in the back. That's where you put the pillow in. Now use an iron with hot steam to flatten out everything. Make sure here that the edges are all the way pushed over to the edges here, flat down. Once they are perfectly ironed, we're going to sew right down this opening here, 4.5 centimeters away from each of those short ends. So over here and also on this end, make sure you iron it first. So 4.5 centimeters, and there'll be the little flaps. So here you can see I've sewn right down both of these short ends, 4.5 centimeters from the edge. Notice here, this is the opening for the pillowcase. You want to make sure that when you sew, you're not sewing into that flap, okay? So look here at the edge. Here I came really close. You can't see because it's black on black, but I came really close, so I just kind of pulled this flap out of the way while I was sewing so I wouldn't accidentally catch it. Okay, so I have both my ends. Here's the other one. This is just regular folded over fabric. So now all that's left to do is to stuff your pillowcase with your pillow. Once you've pulled your pillow all the way down to the end of the pillowcase, just open up this flap part here, slip the corners of the pillow right underneath there. You probably know this. I'm sure you've seen this type of pillowcase before. So just adjust the fabric here and you are all set. And check out your awesome new pillowcase. It looks fabulous, huh? Check out these cool little decorative flaps. You can't really see them really well here because it's dark fabric, but trust me, it's really cool. Now put your brand new pillowcase on your pillow, head to bed, and have a nice, relaxing sleep. Oh, or a pillow fight. Make sure you head on over to coochiecoochiecoo.com for the best sewing tutorials and subscribe to my YouTube channel. See you soon.